Have you ever noticed that the older you get, the more you prefer your own company? Maybe you've caught yourself canceling plans more often, feeling drained after social interactions, or just not enjoying being around people like you used to. If so, you're not alone. This isn't just a random change. It's a psychological shift that happens to many people as they age. And here's the truth. It's not a problem, it's a sign of wisdom. In today's video, we're diving deep into 8 powerful psychological reasons why you may be avoiding people more as you grow older, and why that's actually a completely normal and healthy part of life. Before we proceed, kindly support us by hitting the subscribe button and turn on the notification icon. Some of these reasons will surprise you. Others will hit so close to home that you'll finally have words for feelings you've had for years. But here's the most important part. By the end of this video, you won't just understand yourself better. You'll realize that stepping back from certain people isn't something to feel guilty about. In fact, it might be one of the wisest, healthiest decisions you've ever made. So stay with me until the 8. It could completely change the way you see your own solitude. Reason number 1, the weight of past betrayals. Have you ever noticed that the older you get, the more careful you are about who you let into your life? That's not an accident. It's a lesson. As we go through life, we collect more than just memories. We collect scars. Some betrayals are small, a broken promise, a forgotten favor. Others, they cut deep. A friend who disappeared when you needed them most. A family member who let you down. A trust that was shattered when you least expected it. And after a while, you learn. You stop offering yourself so freely. Not because you're bitter, but because you understand that not everyone deserves a front-row seat to your life. Take Eleanor, for example, an 81-year-old woman who once hosted dinner parties every weekend. She loved laughter, music, and the warmth of good company. But over time, she noticed something. The people she had invested in didn't always invest back. One friend betrayed a confidence. Another disappeared after Eleanor lost her husband, avoiding her grief instead of supporting her through it. It wasn't one big heartbreak. It was a steady drip of small disappointments. So now, she chooses solitude more often than company. Not because she hates people, but because she values her peace more than pretending. And that's the thing about getting older. You start guarding your heart. You've seen what people are capable of, both good and bad. And when someone makes you feel drained, unappreciated, or uneasy, you listen to that feeling instead of ignoring it. Psychologists call this relational fatigue, when the effort of maintaining relationships starts to outweigh the joy they bring. And it's something that happens to many older adults, even if they don't talk about it. But here's the truth. You're not becoming cold. You're becoming careful. Your heart, your time, your energy, they are sacred. And as you age, you start realizing that not everyone deserves access to them. Have you ever felt this way? If this reason resonates with you, comment a 1 below. I'd love to know your thoughts. Reason number 2, the craving for peace over small talk. Have you ever been in a conversation that felt exhausting? Not because it was deep or meaningful, but because it was empty. When you were younger, you may have tolerated small talk, chit-chat about the weather, gossip about people you barely know, conversations that went in circles. But as you get older, something shifts. You stop craving noise, you start craving peace. Harold knows this feeling well. At 76, he spent decades working in sales. Always talking, always charming, always the life of the party. But now, he avoids events where he has to mingle just for the sake of it. When his family asks why he skips large gatherings, he simply says, "I'm tired of talking just to talk." And here's the truth. It's not that you dislike people, it's that you value authenticity. There comes a point where you no longer feel the need to impress, to perform, to fill every silence with words. Instead, you start asking yourself, does this conversation add to my life? Or does it drain me? Does this interaction feel real? Or does it feel forced? And if the answer isn't what you want it to be, you don't force it. You choose your peace instead. This is why many older adults start prioritizing quality over quantity in their relationships. They'd rather have one meaningful conversation than sit through hours of surface-level chatter. They'd rather enjoy their own company than feel lonelier in a crowded room. And here's the most beautiful part. You've earned this clarity. You've spent years giving your energy to others, and now you finally understand. Your time is precious, your peace is priceless, and you no longer feel guilty for protecting it. Reason number 3, the feeling that people don't understand you anymore. Have you ever been in a room full of people and still felt alone? You try to join the conversation, but the topics feel foreign. The slang, the jokes, the way people interact, it all seems different now. And sometimes you wonder, when did the world change so much? This isn't just in your head. As we age, the world moves at a pace that can feel overwhelming. Technology, social norms, even the way people communicate, everything is shifting. Take Marie, a 79-year-old retired school teacher. She used to love telling stories about her life, how she raised 5 kids, balanced work, and still made time for the little things. But now, when she shares these memories, her younger relatives nod politely, barely listening as they glance at their phones. It's not they don't care, it's that they don't understand. And that's the hardest part. You're not invisible, but you start feeling unseen. You're not silent, but you stop speaking as much. Because what's the point if no one is really listening? This is called emotional disconnection. And it's one of the biggest reasons people start withdrawing socially. Not because they dislike others, but because feeling misunderstood is far lonelier than simply being alone. But here's something important to remember. Your thoughts still matter. Your experiences are valuable. And just because some people don't take the time to understand you, doesn't mean your voice has lost its power. So if you've been pulling back from certain social circles, know this. It's not a flaw. It's a sign that you're outgrowing conversations that no longer serve you. Reason number 4. The fear of becoming a burden. Have you ever hesitated to ask for help, even when you really needed it? Not because you didn't trust the person, but because you didn't want to be a bother? As we age, an unspoken fear begins to creep in. Not of illness, not even of death, but of becoming a burden to the people we love. You see it in small ways. You stop asking for favors. You decline invitations, not because you don't want to go, but because you don't want to be an inconvenience. You tell your family, don't worry about me, I'm fine, even when you're not. Take Frank, an 84-year-old widower. He used to spend every weekend at his daughter's house, playing with his grandkids, sharing meals, laughing. But as his mobility declined, he started saying no more often. Not because he didn't want to go, but because he didn't want his daughter to rearrange her life just to accommodate him. They've got kids, jobs, I don't want to slow them down. And just like that, his world started shrinking. This is the paradox many older adults face. The more you need others, the less you want to need them. The more you cherish relationships, the more you hesitate to reach out. But here's what we often forget. People who love you want to show up for you. True love isn't about convenience, it's about connection. And if the people around you truly care, your needs will never be a burden. They'll be a privilege. So if you've ever found yourself pulling away out of fear that you're too much, remember this. You are not a weight. You are a gift. Reason number 5. The quiet disappearance of old connections. Have you ever looked around and realized that people who once filled your life are simply gone? Not because of a big argument, not because of a dramatic fallout, just gone. Maybe you used to call each other every week, but now months have passed. Maybe you used to meet for coffee, but now schedules never seem to align. Maybe you had a best friend, a neighbor, or a coworker who once felt like family, but life just pulled you apart. This is something no one really warns you about. Friendships don't always end with a bang. Sometimes they just fade into silence. Take Ruth, a 73-year-old woman who used to take long walks every week with her best friend from high school. Over time, those walks became monthly, then yearly, and then not at all. One day, Ruth realized something heartbreaking. We still care about each other, but I think we've said all we needed to say. Does that sound familiar? The truth is, many relationships are built on shared seasons, raising kids together, working the same job, living in the same neighborhood. But when that season ends, sometimes the connection does too. And here's the most surprising part. It's not always sad. Sometimes it's just peaceful. Because as we age, we become more selective. Not out of arrogance, but out of clarity. We don't have time for forced conversations. We don't have energy for surface-level friendships. And so we let go, not out of bitterness, but out of growth. Reason number 6, the fear of becoming a burden. As people age, a quiet fear begins to take hold, not of illness or even death, but of being a burden to others. You don't want to interrupt your children's busy lives. You don't want to ask for help, even when you need it. So instead of reaching out, you start pulling back. This isn't about pride, it's about love and dignity. Take Frank, an 84-year-old widower who used to spend every weekend at his daughter's house. But as his mobility declined, he started turning down invitations. When asked why, he simply said, "I don't want them rearranging their lives around me. They have jobs, kids, I'll just slow them down." And just like that, his world got smaller. This is something many older adults struggle with. The more they need others, the less they want to ask for help. For years, they were the caregivers, the problem solvers, the ones everyone leaned on. Now, the idea of being the one who needs support can feel uncomfortable, even shameful. But here's the truth. People who love you want to help. Your presence is not a burden, it's a gift. Still, the fear lingers. So, many seniors choose distance over the risk of feeling like an obligation. Reason number 7, the quiet ending of old friendships. Not all friendships end with dramatic fallouts or painful betrayals. More often than not, they simply fade away over time, without a clear moment of closure. You may have once shared everything with a particular friend, your thoughts, your worries, your joys, but gradually, the phone calls became less frequent, the meetups more sporadic, and eventually, you both went your separate ways without ever formally acknowledging it. At first, this slow disappearance of someone who was once a significant part of your life may feel confusing or even painful. You might find yourself wondering if you did something wrong, if they stopped valuing the friendship, or if they simply became too busy to maintain the bond. But as you reflect, you realize that the distance wasn't necessarily caused by conflict or neglect. It was simply life taking its natural course. Priorities shift, responsibilities increase, and people grow in different directions. Take Ruth, a 73-year-old woman who, for decades, maintained a cherished routine of going on morning walks with her best friend from high school. These walks were not just about exercise. They were sacred moments of connection, where they caught up on each other's lives, shared laughter, and supported one another through life's ups and downs. But as time passed, those walks became less frequent. Eventually, without a specific reason, they stopped altogether. There was no argument, no dramatic falling out, just an unspoken understanding that their lives had diverged. When asked about it, Ruth simply said, "We still care about each other, but we've run out of things to say." This is a reality that many older adults face. A once thriving social circle begins to shrink, not because of resentment or rejection, but because maintaining friendships takes energy, time, and shared experiences. In youth, friendships often form naturally due to circumstances, school, work, parenting, or living in the same neighborhood. But as we age, those shared environments change, and some relationships struggle to adapt. It's not uncommon to look around one day and realize that the people who once filled your days with conversation and laughter are no longer as present. Maybe they moved away, started focusing on their own families, or developed different interests that no longer align with yours. While this can sometimes feel lonely, it's not necessarily a negative thing. It's a sign of growth. As we mature, we become more selective about how we spend our time and who we choose to share our energy with. Rather than forcing connections that no longer feel fulfilling, many older adults begin to embrace the idea that it's okay to let go. There's no bitterness in this choice, just the understanding that not all relationships are meant to last forever in the same way. Some people are in our lives for a season, and once that season changes, it's natural to drift apart. This does not mean you are becoming antisocial or incapable of forming meaningful bonds. In fact, it often means the opposite. You now value deeper, more authentic relationships over casual acquaintances. You are no longer willing to maintain friendships out of obligation or nostalgia if they no longer bring real joy or connection. Instead of surrounding yourself with a large number of people for the sake of avoiding loneliness, you begin to appreciate the importance of quality over quantity. Letting go of friendships that have naturally run their course is not a failure. It is an acceptance of the evolving nature of life. It allows you to make space for new relationships that align better with the person you are today. And sometimes, the strongest form of self-respect is recognizing when a friendship no longer serves your well-being and allowing yourself the freedom to move forward without guilt. Reason number 8, the joy of your own company. As you get older, you may notice something unexpected. You no longer crave constant social interaction the way you once did. Instead, you find yourself drawn to the quiet moments, the peaceful solitude, and the simple pleasure of being in your own company. This shift isn't because you've grown cold or reclusive. Rather, it's because you've finally reached a stage in life where you don't feel the need to fill every silence with conversation or every weekend with plans. For decades, your life may have been filled with responsibilities, raising children, maintaining a career, taking care of a household, and being there for friends and family. In those years, solitude was rare, and the idea of being alone might have even felt uncomfortable. But now, you've come to appreciate it. Silence no longer feels empty, it feels restful. Loneliness is no longer about being by yourself, it's about being in the wrong company. And when you finally discover the peace that comes with solitude, you begin to protect it. Take Gerald, an 82-year-old man who spent most of his life as the social butterfly of his community. His home was always filled with guests, his weekends packed with gatherings, and he thrived in the energy of others. But in recent years, he finds more joy sitting on his porch with a book than in attending noisy dinner parties. When asked if he ever gets lonely, he simply smiles and says, "Not at all. I've got my thoughts, my memories, and a life well lived to reflect on." This shift often confuses the people around you. Friends and family might worry that you're isolating yourself, that you're withdrawing from the world. But the truth is, you are simply choosing to be more intentional about how you spend your time. You no longer feel the pressure to socialize out of obligation. You no longer need to prove your worth by being surrounded by others. Instead, you've embraced the reality that your own presence is enough. Many younger people associate being alone with loneliness, but as you age, you realize they are not the same. Solitude can be deeply fulfilling, especially when it is chosen. It gives you space to think, to reflect, and to simply exist without the distractions of the outside world. It allows you to do things at your own pace, without feeling rushed or obligated to accommodate others. This doesn't mean you don't value relationships. It doesn't mean you never want to see friends or family. It simply means that you now prioritize the right kind of interactions, the ones that bring you joy, fulfillment, and peace. Rather than filling your days with endless chatter, you choose depth over quantity. Instead of surrounding yourself with people just to avoid being alone, you embrace the beauty of your own company. With age comes the wisdom to understand that happiness isn't about being constantly surrounded by people, it's about feeling at peace within yourself. And when you've reached that level of contentment, you no longer seek validation through social interaction. You've learned that the most meaningful moments in life aren't always found in crowds, but often in the stillness of your own thoughts. Have you ever felt this way? Do you find yourself enjoying your own company more as you get older? Let me know in the comments by typing *8 and sharing your thoughts. I'd love to hear your perspective. Final thoughts. So after going through all 8 reasons, which one resonated with you the most? Was it the realization that you no longer tolerate small talk? The feeling that others don't quite understand you anymore? Or perhaps the simple truth that you've grown to cherish your own space and peace more than the need to socialize? Whatever the reason, I hope this video has reassured you that stepping back from social interactions isn't something to feel guilty about. It doesn't mean you're broken or bitter. It means you've grown. You've reached a point in life where you understand the value of your energy, your peace, and your emotional well-being. You've earned the right to be selective with your time, to choose depth over distractions, and to surround yourself only with people and experiences that truly enrich your life. If any of these points spoke to you, I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss future content designed to inform, inspire, and support you on this journey. Thank you for watching, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.